Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Maitreya Vacha Iti Maturvacha Shlakshnam Pratinandya Mahamuni Pratinandya Mahamuni Avabhashe Kuru Sreshta Pritastam Karunarditaha Maitreya Vacha Iti Maturvacha Shlakshnam Pratinandya Mahamuni Avabhashe Kuru Sreshta Pritastam Karunarditaha Iti Maturvacha Shlakshnam Pratinandya Mahamuni Avabhashe Kuru Sreshta Pritastam Karunarditaha. Anyone wants to repeat? 329.6. Yes. Maitreya Vacha Iti Maturvacha Slakshnam Pratinandya Mahamuni Agabhase Kuru Shrestha Pritastam Karunarditaha. Maitriyo Vacha Iti Maturvachas Lakshnam Pratinandya Mahamuni Avabhashe Kuru Shrestha Pritastam Karunarditaha. Maitreya Vacha. Maitreya said, Iti, thus, Matu, of his mother, Vacha, the words, Slakshnam, gentle, Pratinandya, welcoming, Mahamuni, the great sage Kapila, Avabhashe, spoke, Kurusreshtha, O best among the Kurus, Vidura, Pritaha, pleased, Tam, to her, Karuna, with compassion, Arditaha, moved. Translation: Sri Maitreya said, O best among the Kurus, the great sage Kapila, moved by great compassion and pleased by the words of his glorious mother, spoke as follows. Purport: Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Lord Kapila was very satisfied by the request of his glorious mother because she was thinking not only in terms of her personal salvation, but in terms of all the fallen conditioned souls. The Lord is always compassionate toward the fallen souls of this material world, and therefore he comes himself or sends his confidential servants to deliver them. Since he is perpetually compassionate towards them, if some of his devotees also become compassionate towards them, he is very pleased with the devotees. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that persons who are trying to elevate the condition of the fallen souls by preaching the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, namely full surrender unto the personality of Godhead, are very dear to him. Thus, when the Lord saw that his beloved mother was very compassionate toward the fallen souls, he was pleased and he also became compassionate towards her. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kata Mahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhansute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram So, yes, I beg the blessings of all the uh, devotees, especially His Grace Kishore Prabhu, to speak something on Srimad Bhagavatam. So, um, again, the translation. Sri Maitreya said, O best among the Gurus, the great sage Kapila, moved by great compassion and pleased by the words of his glorious mother, spoke as follows. So, the only reason why I am sitting here today is because of the unlimited compassion of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, although we can say that Prabhupada, I mean, not we can say, it is true that Srila Prabhupada is an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord, but uh, we see that how much trouble Srila Prabhupada undertook to come to this material world and distribute the mood of uh, Vrindavan. Uh, His Grace Ainda Prabhu one time mentioned that although it is true that when Srimati Radharani feels separation from Krishna, it is the greatest pleasure. It is on the Anandamaya, it is on the transcendental platform. But at the same time, he says, don't think that she's not suffering. He says that the suffering of Srimati Radharani in her separation from Krishna is much more painful to her than all the suffering put together in the material world. So that's a very powerful statement, and he's a realized soul, so he can speak like that. So in the same way, Srila Prabhupada, many times we may say that Srila Prabhupada came to America, Prabhupada is a pure devotee. So even though Prabhupada had 3 heart attacks, even though Prabhupada went through so much trouble, many days Prabhupada did not have anything to eat, still ultimately Prabhupada is a pure devotee. So if we say like this, then we're discounting or demeriting Srila Prabhupada's sacrifice. And Srila Prabhupada's sacrifice is just because of his heart bleeding for the fallen conditioned souls. Srila Prabhupada one time, when he was very sick, he revealed to one of his confidential associates or one of his servants, personal servants, that Krishna wanted me to come back now, but I told Krishna that, hey Krishna, you sent me here and you wanted me to establish this mission, and right now my mission is still very in the beginning stages, and my devotees, they need my attention, they need my affection, they need my mercy. So Krishna told Srila Prabhupada, this is Prabhupada's own words, that okay, continue with whatever you want to do. But Krishna expressed that uh, he considered that although Krishna himself was the person who sent Srila Prabhupada to this world to spread his mission, but at the same time, Krishna was a little, you can say, little annoyed that Srila Prabhupada wanted to stay in this world for some more time and continue his mission. So uh, here we can see that Krishna's pure devotee is even more compassionate than Krishna himself. That's why it's called Krishna Kripa Srimurti. Guru is the uh, ultimately Guru is the ultimate representation of the uh, tender feminine counterpart of Krishna, that is Srimati Radharani. So just to give an example, our acharyas have given an example of what is the compassion of Srimati Radharani like. And of course, one thing point has to be made here, that Radharani's compassion, or the compassion of the Vrajvasis, they are more internally directed. But the compassion that we see in this world is more, we can see, more external. Like normally, when you speak about compassion in this world, people generally speak about giving food, giving water, etc., etc. But the ultimate suffering in our heart is lack of Krishna consciousness. So all the Brajvasis, their compassion upon the fallen conditioned souls is to awaken their love for Krishna, our love for Krishna. So And of course, they all descended as the transcendental associates of uh, Lord Chaitanya. Gaurangera Sangigarne Nitya Siddha Koriman. So this Srila Prabhupada, again, this is quoting Prabhupada's writings, that although Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is unlimitedly blissful, he's Atmaram, he's independent, everything is true. But at the same time, he has an intimate, loving relationship with every soul. So just like the example is given, just like mm, on a cake, uh, the cake may be very big and the size of the icing may be very small, but the icing makes the cake more and more relishable. So in the same way, every conditioned soul's contribution to the pastimes of the Lord makes the Lord's pastimes more and more relishable for his own transcendental satisfaction. So this example is given about the compassion of Srimati Radharani, that one time there was a king, and this king was a Vaishnava. So just like following the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Ambarish, this king was very, very simple. Simplicity is Vaishnavism. His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur mentions that it is better to take birth in any animal species than to be in this human form of life and maintain duplicity. Speaking to myself. So this king was a very simple person. So there was once a thief who actually came to steal so many ornaments, because Shri Radha Gopijana Vallabh Nityapada Gaura Hari Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Because king and queen naturally, because they were dharmic and because proper king and queen, they were naturally very opulent. So he wanted to steal the ornaments of the queen. So what happened? He dressed as a Vaishnav. The king taught him to be a Vaishnav. So he gave him a nice place, nice room to stay. And this thief in the dress of a Vaishnav was taking rest. And in the middle of the night, he knew how to sneak out into the queen's bedroom. She was resting alone, and at that time, he took out his knife, and he knew how to do it very expertly. So he just tried to slit her throat, cut her throat. And at that time, her, different devotees, different acharyas give different explanations. But one of the explanations given is because of her chastity, because of her devotion. At that time, her neck became like a rock. And so nothing happened to her. On the contrary, she woke up. And naturally, it is his situation from his mind. He was very disturbed and he fell at her feet and begged forgiveness. And of course, this is not something to be imitated or something to be justified, but this is just to glorify the compassion. So he fell at her feet, and at that time, when he fell at her feet and begged forgiveness, she said, "Well, everyone makes mistakes." So, this is the transcendental compassion, is unfathomable compassion of Srimati Radharani, and that's why, because she sees no fault in others, therefore her heart manifested, as we discussed last week, as Navadvip Dham. So this Navadvip Dham is actually the form of Radharani's heart, and that is unlimited compassion for the living entities. And that same compassion is given to us by the divine grace of Srila Prabhupada. So that is actually our greatest good fortune in our spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada's unlimited compassion. What is the compassion of Srila Prabhupada when he came to America? I'll just narrate one incident, which we have heard many times, but it's very important because it shows how much Prabhupada actually cares for us. And Acharya teaches by example, and therefore, if we act following Prabhupada's footsteps, we'll also feel the same love for Srila Prabhupada in our heart. Just as um, the compassion of uh, Devahuti here is moving the heart of Kapila. Same way, if we try to become an instrument of Srila Prabhupada's compassion in our own life will become more and more resplendent or more and more pronounced. I speak for myself. So this is the early days that Srila Prabhupada one time when he first came to America, nobody had any money, nobody had any place practically. And with so much uh, sacrifice, so much trouble, Srila Prabhupada finally managed to start his Bhagavad Gita classes. And when he served the devotees, the way he served the devotees, I mean, they were not devotees, of course, they were just people coming to check it out. They were probably, so many different things can be said, but they were not cultured. So, of course, now they're exalted devotees, but at that time, just for the sake of the example, so they were not exactly dressed in the proper way. I mean, you can just think about it, how disturbing it may be in Western society today, like the way people are dressed if they come and sit in the class, they haven't taken bath, etc., etc., etc. So Prabhupada was in that situation, and in that situation, and Prabhupada is now 70, Prabhupada is at the old age, and the body is the body. Prabhupada had 3 heart attacks and etc., 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 etc. Nobody was caring for Srila Prabhupada. So in that condition, Srila Prabhupada would go to the store, and Prabhupada would take out whatever money he collected from his pamphlet distribution. That time Prabhupada didn't release books yet. So Prabhupada distributed back to Godhead, and with that, he just got maybe $5. What is $5? Like it's completely like useless. If someone looks at $5 in your hand, then probably you can buy much with that. So with that, Prabhupada bought vegetables, Prabhupada bought atta, Prabhupada bought so many things. And then he went to the cashier and he said, well, I only have $5. And that lady said, sir, this, whatever you have in your hand, it costs $25, it costs $30. How will $5 suffice? Prabhupada said, no, you don't understand. Prabhupada, with tears in his eyes, Prabhupada said, I have to feed my children. I am an old man. My children are hungry. And I need, I need to feed them. They're hungry. And Prabhupada's compassion, unlimited compassion, just touched the heart of that lady. And that lady took out like $20, $25 from her own pocket and said, yes, please have it. And not only that, Prabhupada came back, Prabhupada personally cooked everything, and Prabhupada fed the devotees. Now, he gave the class, Prabhupada served the devotees. Then Prabhupada washed the pots, Prabhupada washed their plates. I mean, and this is just one example. Like Prabhupada used to stand in the same queue as all these hippies to take bath. Prabhupada went through so much extreme trouble, physical strain. Like Prabhupada, yeah, Prabhupada didn't have proper shoes even. Like the other day, we were seeing like a video that they were showing the shoes uh, mm, that Srila Prabhupada wore in New York. It's like rubber slippers. And he wore that throughout the winter. And Prabhupada didn't have proper winter clothing. He just had like a dhoti and like very austere conditions, very austere and extreme tolerance. Like the amount of, and even what to speak of as Prabhupada progressed in his mission. There was one time that one person, he had some mental problem, and he ran after Prabhupada. He was about to like almost attack or hurt Prabhupada. So Prabhupada went through extreme trouble, extreme trouble. Why? For us, for us. So just thinking about this compassion of Srila Prabhupada should make us want to do something. And the best thing we can do is to follow the mood and instructions of Srila Prabhupada. What is Prabhupada's mood? Prabhupada's mood is Prabhupada created the society in order to in a very organized way, in a very systematic way, distribute the same gift that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this world to give. And just like Lord Chaitanya, he enacted his pastimes when he came to this world. And through his loving dealings with his devotees, he distributed this love of Godhead. Same way, Srila Prabhupada also opened God Leela in this world and made an arrangement to distribute this love of Godhead. So that's why this mission is very, very important. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, but in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Krishna came to this world in that way, so that just by worshipping Lord Chaitanya, just by serving Lord Chaitanya, the door to Vrindavan will open up in our hearts. And we can see that example, so many examples in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, who's our Prayojan Acharya, he stayed with Lord Chaitanya for so many years and was very, very intimately trained by Swarup Damodar Goswami. And as a result of that service to Lord Chaitanya, Raghunath Das Goswami was able to live in the highest of all places, Sri Radha Kund. And in that way, he was able to instruct the whole world on how to perform the most intimate service of the Supreme Lord. So, in the same way, Mahaprabhu distributed this mercy to so many devotees. And if we simply engage ourselves in the mission, unless we engage in the mission of Lord Chaitanya, we cannot get mercy. That's why Srila Prabhupada said that if someone thinks that he can stay away from the association of devotees and make progress, that is just hallucination. It's impossible. It's impossible. So if you want mercy, you need to serve in the mission. Like we are seeing that how His Grace Prabhu has inspired this chanting of the holy name, 192 rounds, and you can see how devotees are so much enthusiastic, how the whole atmosphere, like anyone who was here in Mangalarti could feel like how the whole atmosphere was so surcharged with devotional enthusiasm. Why? Because he is a proper person. He is a proper person. He's a proper representative of Srila Prabhupada. So what did Prabhupada say? Prabhupada said that if you serve your authority, if you serve the temple authority, then you are pleasing me. You are pleasing me. That's the way it connected to me. So the way Prabhupada arranged ISKCON is Prabhupada is at the is the founder Acharya, and his different temples are the different units. And when we become dedicated to the temple, we serve the desires of the temple authorities, then we get mercy, we get Prabhupada's mercy. And our heart becomes filled with Krishna conscious enthusiasm, Utsaha Nishay Dhairyat. So this is the most important thing. Like His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj one time mentioned that what is the secret to his advancement? What is the secret to his continuing in Krishna consciousness more and more and more? He just said the same thing. He said, chanting my rounds, reading Prabhupada book, following the footsteps of, following the instruction of the temple authorities, staying the association of devotees. That's it. It doesn't sound anything miraculous, right? Yeah, but that's the secret to success. That is the secret to success. So if we simply commit ourselves, then we will get mercy. Then we will get mercy, because Krishna is not a narrow-minded person. Krishna is not a short-sighted person. Krishna does not give mercy by one kirtan or one katha or one dressing or one seva. Krishna sees over a period of time. And what is the most important aspect of, what is the most important consideration of Krishna is how much we are surrendering to his devotees. So this mood of Vaishnav Seva is very important. And that is why Srila Prabhupada opened ISKCON. If I again I repeat that in Gaur Leela, what are the two most important aspects which are special in Gaur Leela, which even are not there so much in Bhagavatam, are not so much there in any other pastimes of the Lord, is Vaishnav Seva and Nam Sankirtan. And Mahaprabhu says with great conviction that if you do these two things, then you will quickly make progress. Vaishnav Seva and Nam Sankirtan. So whatever we do in this community of ISKCON, in Krishna consciousness, if we do it in a way to serve devotees and chant the holy name, we will make quick progress. Now, what does serving devotees mean? Serving devotees means being an instrument of Prabhupada's compassion. It means enlivening devotees. Like another day is Holiness Ranat Maharaj was speaking about how Srila Prabhupada one time seeing one lady in a class, Prabhupada went to the temple president, Kuladri Prabhu, and said that she does not have enough clothes. And because she is humble, she will not personally ask, but it is your duty to take care of her. So Prabhupada was stressing that as devotees, to the extent possible, we have to care for others in all possible ways. And you never know how much powerful a seva will be, an offering of uh, care would be. Like you never know when it would come of use. Like this wonderful pastime is there of Srila Prabhupada. Although I'm quoting Srila Prabhupada, but it's an example for all of us. That one time, one devotee, he was going out on book distribution, and he came back, and he liked chocolates very much, and he know that as devotees we don't eat chocolates, especially with the caffeine and all those things. So he came back with chocolates, and he saw Prabhupada. And when he saw Prabhupada's intelligence froze, he didn't know, he couldn't think. So he just immediately paid obeisances, following everyone else. And naturally, from his bead bag, the chocolates fell out. And Prabhupada said, "Oh, what is that thing?" Prabhupada took the chocolates, and Prabhupada said, "You like very much?" He said, "Yes, Prabhupada, I like very much." So Prabhupada didn't say a word, and Prabhupada went to the kitchen, and Prabhupada, with his own hands, he cooked halwa for him. And once this devotee ate that halwa, this devotee lost the complete taste for any enjoyment in this world. So that is how, although Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya, Prabhupada taught us that how we have to, although we may be very busy, we have to, as much as possible, care for devotees. My spiritual master, as one thing is very famous about him, that if anyone would send any email, anyone would come to meet him, he would never say he's busy. Never. Never. I never saw, and from his secretaries, I never heard. If he was busy, he would say, "Okay, we'll speak later, we'll meet later." So, although it may not be possible, we may not have that much purity and time to do that, but we should know that we are sitting here means many pure devotees, they have sacrificed their life for us without thinking about their personal comfort, without thinking about anything. Like we have heard how Shri Ranath Maharaj, how many times his health was so, like, I mean, I have had the experience of asthma, so I know what it means to have asthma. It's a very, very, physically straining condition. It's like you just want to sleep and you don't want to do anything else. In that condition, he's been doing so much service over so many decades. So many decades. Like that, there's so many pure devotees who have sacrificed, who are sacrificing, and who will sacrifice. So we have to get into this mood of sacrificing, and we have to do it as a service to Prabhupada. Sometimes we may try to encourage, we may try to speak sweet words, and the other person may not really value it, may not care, but we should still do it. Why? Because it is our service to Prabhupada. It is our service to Prabhupada. This is carrying the mood of Prabhupada. What is Prabhupada's mood? Prabhupada's mood is that by assisting others to make spiritual progress, you get the qualification, you get the inspiration, you get the adhikar to make spiritual progress yourself. That is Srila Prabhupada's mood. And that's what Prabhupada wanted us to practice. And that's why the mission of ISKCON is very, very important. That's why whatever we do in our spiritual life, we should do always under the guidance of the authority. Because when you do under the guidance of the authority, under the guidance of the devotees, your devotional service becomes blessed. Like one time, my spiritual master was mentioning again that if you please your authority, you immediately melt Radharani's heart. And I'm just saying this to kind of emphasize the point that day there was some service and I was very tired. I was like, but because I heard that line of Maharaj, I did the service and immediately I promise I'm speaking in front of all of you. I'm not lying that. I mean, we have seen the picture, right, of Radha Govinda so many times, but I felt by taking darshan of a picture of Radha Govinda, I felt so much joy in my heart, so much joy in my heart. So that is the power of satisfying the devotee, satisfying the authority. So we have to be in our dealing with the seniors. We should be very, very sensitive. And with everyone should be very, very sensitive. But ultimately, the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada depends on how much we're pleasing our authorities in Krishna consciousness. And the goal of our sadhana, the goal of all our sadhana and seva ultimately is to spread this message. That's the goal. The goal is not to keep it to ourselves. The goal is to spread it to others. So by cultivating this mood, having the strong desire to help others, and like serving others as a menial servant, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, uh, he personally served the devotee with his own hands. He's the Supreme Lord. Krishna personally washed the feet of all the persons who came to the Rajasuri Yajna. Lord Nityananda personally went to Jagai and Madhai to deliver them. And of course, needless to say about Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada personally served devotees. How much compassion Prabhupada had for all of us. Prabhupada used to answer letters every day. Letters in English, letters in Hindi, letters in Bengali. Prabhupada used to give classes every day. Prabhupada used to, at Guru Puja, he used to personally give cookies to all the children every day. Prabhupada used to serve the devotees in such intimate ways every day. If anyone had, anyone wrote letter to Prabhupada that Prabhupada, my mind is very disturbed, I am not happy. Prabhupada would personally attend to that devotee. And you see in every letter of Prabhupada how scrutinizingly Prabhupada is replying. Not that Prabhupada is just writing, okay, thank you very much, 1, 2 lines. No, you see how detailed Prabhupada is writing. And on top of everything, Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports, staying a whole night to translate his purports. And you can see how scrutinizingly the purports have been translated, and what to speak of, Back to God in magazines and the small books and interviews, morning walks, like it goes on and on and on. It's like, and although he's an acharya, but he's teaching by example, he's teaching by example. So the goal of all our sadhana, of all our seva, is simply to become a speck of dust at Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. Like, that's why hearing Prabhupada's lectures is very, very important. Very, very important. Because Prabhupada's lectures and Prabhupada's purports form a very integral part of the mood of this movement. And if we don't encourage new people, like we cannot encourage new people to do something that we don't. So unless we ourselves become attached to Prabhupada, unless we become attached to Prabhupada as our spiritual master, as our guide in our Krishna consciousness, we cannot encourage others to do so. And unless we encourage others to do so, how will they get nourished? How will they get the adhikar? Prabhupada said, I created your qualification. So don't we want to create this qualification for everyone? That is the mood of Vrindavan. What is the mood of Vrindavan? As Lord Chaitanya himself propagated, the mood of Vrindavan is everyone is qualified. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, everyone is qualified to cultivate the moods of Vrindavan. Everyone is qualified. So don't we want to give that qualification to everyone? And best way to give the qualification is by connecting them to Srila Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada said that I will create your qualification. Prabhupada said, by my one kick, I will kick away all the obstacles in your life and take you back to the spiritual world. So this is Prabhupada's unlimited compassion, and we have to pray to become an instrument of that compassion. We have to pray to imbibe that compassion in our heart and become an instrument of that towards instrument of that compassion to others. And that's why we always have to think that, okay, whatever mercy I have gotten, even though I'm most unfortunate, even though I'm most unqualified, but I got this mercy, how can I give it to others? How can I distribute? How can I distribute? How can I distribute this prasad? How can I give this garland? How can I give this scent? How can I give whatever I've got in Krishna consciousness to others? So There are two ways we can give. One is, of course, a common way, but another way is a more intimate way by enlivening, I mean, by speaking to others the glories of Srila Prabhupada's purpose. This is very, very important. Without a doubt, whoever is strongly serving, fully dedicated, ecstatic Krishna consciousness, every single person I have studied, they have read Prabhupada books very, very thoroughly. They know Prabhupada's books inside out. Like Shri Ranath Maharaj, and in Shri Ranath Maharaj also, he was doing 6 aartis and 6 offerings those days, which is very tight, including the dressing and everything. And even he would read Prabhupada books every day for 1 hour minimum. Because that was the mood of course, that's his exalted personality, but that was the mood of those days. And whoever is strictly practicing, who has attained deep levels of devotion in today's ISKCON, they have such a deep understanding of Prabhupada's purpose. So it is our duty to speak the glories of Prabhupada's purpose, encourage devotees, speaking to myself, to read Prabhupada's purpose. Because Prabhupada's purpose teaches how to practice our spiritual life, how to maintain our spiritual life. Problems that we face in our daily life are answered in Prabhupada's purpose. And at the same time, Prabhupada's purpose are also giving us the way to attain greater and greater realization. So we say like Bhagavad Gita as it is. Bhagavad Gita as it is. So from this purport, what we can learn? We can learn that if we see Bhagavad Gita as it is, uh, we speak whatever Prabhupada spoke, with whatever realization we have, we speak as it is to others. Then what will be the result? Hmm. We will achieve full surrender unto the personality of God. What is very difficult to achieve after many years of tapasya, after many years of study, can be simply achieved by trying to spread this message. Right? That is our understanding we get from this purport, that Krishna is very pleased with us when we become uh, compassionate, we become an instrument of the compassion of his devotees. So if we simply become an instrument of Prabhupada's compassion, what will happen? Then we will achieve full surrender unto the personality of Godhead. What is the praman? What is the evidence of this? Prabhupada's disciples. Prabhupada's disciples were so Krishna conscious. Uh, One devotee was saying that those days they were so Krishna conscious, uh, that they would write down on a piece of paper their daily schedule, and like they would not have a single moment to do anything practically. You know, that is full surrender unto the personality of God, and that's why that surrender, that dedication, that sacrifice for the spiritual master made Prabhupada speak this line that my devotees are liberated. That's why they're able to make such a strong impact, because they're fully surrendered. Why they were fully surrendered? Because they were in complete line with Prabhupada's mood. Like they were so surrendered to the temple authorities. They were so surrendered to Prabhupada's mood. Some of them were distributing books, some of them worshipping deities, but whatever they did, they were fully dedicated. They were fully dedicated to Prabhupada. And that's why they achieved the full surrender. So Prabhupada would say everything in our temple is meant for preaching. The reason why we decorate our deities is for to attract people. Like I always tell people that, I mean devotees or whoever, that the most attractive presentation to the deities is devotees. Like otherwise, what is the quality of whatever offering? Most of the jewelry which is made is not in gold, is not in silver. Most of the boga we're offering is not like 100% pure. So, you know, why would Krishna come to this world? Why? Because he wants the devotion of his devotees. Yesterday I was reading Prabhupada's purport. Prabhupada said that Krishna is independent, and Krishna does not need anyone's uh, mercy. Krishna does not need anyone's service, but Krishna likes to depend on his devotees. Prabhupada writes in a very enchanting way. Prabhupada says sometimes Krishna appears to his devotee in a dream and says that, oh, I have been buried in my deity form for so many years. And he asks his devotee to build a temple for him. Sometimes Krishna appears in his devotee, in his devotee's dream, and ask him to render some special service. And sometimes, uh, although Krishna can do himself, but Krishna leaves his devotee the mm, the duty or the service of spreading his movement all over the world. So this Prabhupada is revealing his own connection to Krishna, his own connection to Lord Chaitanya. So this is Krishna's greatest opulence is actually his dependence on his devotees. And that's why we can see in Vrindavan, Krishna, the most intimate part of Krishna's heart comes out. That Rupa Madhuri, Prema Madhuri, Leela Madhuri, and his associates. Krishna, the sweetest part of Krishna's heart um, comes out in Vrindavan. Why? Because that's where he's fully dependent on his devotees, 100% dependence. Krishna does not decide anything practically. Everything is decided by his devotees and his internal energy, Yoga Maya. Mother Yashoda says, you wake up means you wake up. You know, whatever his devotees cook, he has to honor. You know, so this is everything in Vrindavan. Krishna is dependent in every moment. At every moment, Krishna is dependent on his devotees, complete dependent on their mood, on their everything. You know. So that's why in this purport to Jayarada Madhav, Prabhupada says Krishna's only business is to serve the Brajvasis. Krishna's only business, Prabhupada writes. So we have the access to such a Krishna, such a Vrindavan, such a holy name by Prabhupada's causeless mercy. And so we should develop this mood of spreading this Krishna consciousness, and we should start immediately. I mean, at least, you know, giving books, telling others. We should be very, very eager. That eagerness will give us the power to overcome all the obstacles in our spiritual life. And that's how Krishna will be very, very pleased with us, very, very pleased. And the leaders of this movement will be very pleased with us. And most importantly, our heart will be nourished. You know, we can, many times we see in our society, in our movement, where so many things are lacking. You know, oh, maybe I wish the, you know, devotees could get this prasadam or get that prasadam. I wish there could be an arrangement for this kind of discussion, that kind of discussion. So as much as possible, we can try to be the instrument of that change. In giving, we receive. We receive from the previous acharyas. So if we adopt this mode of trying to give, basically simple thing is to goal in our life is to see devotees happy. Whatever it takes to make them happy, let me try to do. Maybe I should, you know, encourage them. Maybe I should give them some prasadam, whatever, you know, glorify. Oh, this devotee, he likes Jagannath very much. Okay, so let me tell some persons Jagannath to him. Oh, this devotee likes this kind of prasad very much. Let me give this prasad. Small, small things we can all do, you know, and just as drops of water fill up the ocean, everyone's collective endeavor is going to make this movement successful. So no one person's endeavor is enough. Everyone has to contribute and contribute and contribute. So that's what this movement is all about. And of course, needless to say, um, the more and more we engage in this Vaishnav Seva, this humble mode of giving this, spreading this movement, then the more and more we'll also be invested with wonderful qualities which are required to make rapid spiritual advancement, like not to waste time, to be attentive, to be very careful. Like His Holiness Chandrasekhar Maharaj said very nicely that I think I asked a question, someone asked a question when he came here, that how to overcome the obstacles. He said by engaging in spreading Krishna consciousness. That yajna of trying to give Krishna consciousness to others will purify us and will help us to overcome all obstacles, and all the good qualities will develop in our heart when we try to engage uh, by spreading Prabhupada's compassion to others. And that's why it's very important to constantly associate with those who have given their life to Prabhupada. Because we understand how their hearts have been touched by Prabhupada's compassion, how their hearts have been touched by Prabhupada's books, how their hearts have been touched by Prabhupada's mercy. Like, just quoting, I read one line that His Holiness Ranath Maharaj wrote in his Vyas Puja offering to Prabhupada, I think last year. Maharaj said that, Srila Prabhupada, please accept my life. Is it? Yes. End of. So, I mean, I was thinking that whether any day will come when I can write like that to Prabhupada or Guru. Can I write like that? Please accept my life. So I could understand, reading at the gravity of that statement, that what is this sacrifice? What is this sacrifice? So unless we associate with them, how will get that mood? How will get that quality? Impossible. And if you don't get that quality of devotion to Prabhupada, you can never develop that kind of mood of giving our life to Krishna. And if you don't develop that kind of mentality, full surrender to Krishna, how can we go back to the spiritual world? How is it possible? Like, one last thing I always tell, like, devotees, like, this, in the spiritual world, if you want to go there, you have to demonstrate the same kind of consciousness here. And which means that at least before leaving the body, you have to develop that kind of mood that you're ready to serve all the time without desiring any reciprocation, without desiring any material reciprocation. Like, nowhere do we hear in Krishna book that Yashoda has been cooking so many items, Radhani has been cooking so many items, and there is like a Vyas Puja, there's a celebration that all glories, all glories. I mean, they appreciate, Krishna appreciates, but the point is that the desire to do unlimited service is what we really want to cultivate in our heart. So I'm very unqualified, but um, somehow last few days I got to hear something from pure devotees, and I'm just um, repeating that. And I'm also realizing in my life that how much valuable uh, is this shown form of life, how this association of devotees, this ISKCON movement is the greatest thing that I've done in my life. Joining this ISKCON movement is the greatest thing I've done in my life. And it's the most amazing arrangement of Krishna. This is Krishna himself. I mean, where can you find, like, just if you just write down the number of ways in which ISKCON is caring for us, devotees are caring for us, is unlimited. Like, even today in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it's very difficult to find such a complete package, you know, devotees caring for us on a physical level, on a personal level. We are getting darshan of deities so easily every day. We're getting to chant holy name with devotees. We're getting to hear Bhagavatam. We're getting to take Krishna Prasadam. I mean, it's just such an amazing package. And to get all that at one time in one place is really, really, really incredible fortune. Incredible fortune. So, yeah, I'm very grateful to all the devotees who are tolerating me and are allowing me to make progress in Krishna consciousness. And one thing should also remember that ultimately everyone is a pure devotee. So devotees who are impure today, I mean, I'm not a devotee, but devotees who are impure today, if we just give them time and if we facilitate their advancement, in the future, they will not make the same mistakes that they are making today, because their consciousness will be on a different platform. Their contribution will be on a different platform. So we should always have faith in Lord Nityananda's mercy, in Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So I would like to end here. Please forgive if I spoke anything wrong and inappropriate. Any question or comment?
Just you mentioned about the conflict not being created for one, and the example that the boy or the attachment to the chocolate. Similarly, like as a devotee, we also have some attachment. Maybe it's the material attachment, maybe some spiritual bhakti, anga bhakti. So, how to deal with this attachment in today's world?
Yeah, I mean, what I feel is that if you have some problem with some attachment,
Prabhu,
then
can you repeat the question, please?
the question is that Mataji is asking that in today's time, if devotees are having problem with some attachment, how can they deal with that attachment? Like attachment is not conducive to Krishna consciousness. So she was giving the example of the chocolate example, like how Prabhupada made halwa for the devotee. So um, the way we can deal with attachments which are not conducive for Krishna consciousness is by taking guidance from those who guide us in our spiritual life. Their guidance is very powerful. So if the thing is, you have to put full faith. If you put full faith, then Krishna will speak through them to you. And of course, we cannot get rid of those attachments overnight. But what we can do is we can try to avoid situations where that attachment may spring up, and at the same time we can try to increase our Krishna consciousness, and ultimately what will make us give up our attachments is our attachment to guru, to sadhu, to pure devotees. So we have to cultivate this very strong attachment to our previous acharyas. One time one devotee asked my spiritual master that uh, that he asked that should a devotee be more attached to Prabhupada or his spiritual master? Like today's ISKCON, everyone has Guru. And so Maharaj said, why not both? Why not both? So in order to understand Prabhupada, you need to be attached to his representative. And in order to understand his representative, you have to be attached to Prabhupada. So both are important. So in order to understand the mood of exalted souls like our Shiksha Gurus, we need to understand the mood of the previous acharyas. So that really helps us, because that helps to see them from a more transcendental vision instead of material vision. So when we have a more transcendental vision of those who guide us in our spiritual life, we'll put more faith in them. And if we put more faith, Krishna is going to reciprocate more through them to us. And that will help us to get rid of our attachment. So that's why these appearance days are very, very powerful. We pray to those acharyas, we read about the acharyas, and in that way we become attached to them, we pray to them. Then we develop greater appreciation of those who guide us in our Krishna consciousness, and then Krishna reciprocates more to us through them. So yeah, that is the thing that we have to, we like, yes, many people may give many answers in many places, but if you really want to overcome a problem, an attachment that you're not able to give it up, then the best thing from my own experience is to just ask those person who is guiding you in your Krishna consciousness, what do I do? And just follow.
Same one. Whether the spiritual attachment is good or bad.
Yeah, that is what is required. Spiritual attachment is a must. It's a must. Like yesterday, I just want to repeat. So Ranat Manoj was telling yesterday, this devotee asked an amazing question, an amazing answer. So devotee was telling about, was talking about lust, about material attachment, basically material attachment. And then Maharaj was mentioning that we don't try to conquer our anathas, we try to conquer Krishna. So how can you conquer Krishna unless you develop spiritual desires? So only when you develop the spiritual desires can you conquer Krishna's heart. Because what Krishna wants service. So yeah, that's why all the Acharya songs are for that. Radhesham Prabhu, I see every time I see his class, always sing some Vaishnava bhajan. Why? Because we have to develop their mood. We have to develop those desire. Like, so that's why spiritual desire, if we don't cultivate, how can we ever give up our material desires?
You mentioned about compassion in two forms, one internal compassion and external compassion. And Srimati Radharani, she is exhibiting the internal compassion. Can you explain on that part?
Yeah. So when I speak about external compassion, it means, I mean, in this context, I'm generally referring to in this context that, yeah, like care for the body, care for the mind. But here I'm speaking about care for the soul. And what the soul needs is Krishna. So she actually gives us the enthusiasm. Prabhupada says Radharani is the source of spiritual inspiration. So gives us the inspiration to actually serve Krishna more and more. serve him more and more. So she, by her mercy, through her God Leela, it is her God Leela ultimately, through Lord Chaitanya. So they actually teach us how to develop our attachment to Krishna. So, like, there's a quote, I mean, I can't remember, I read it somewhere, I heard it somewhere early in my spiritual life, that Mahaprabhu used to do anything to make people come to his kirtan. Prabhupada would say that, come to my kirtan, come to our kirtan, and Mahaprabhu would say that you can enjoy wine and women. And Mahaprabhu would say, what is the wine? What is the intoxication? When the devotees, they cry, that tears come out, that is the intoxication. And what is women? Is the ground. So when devotees are in so much ecstasy, rolling on, they're embracing the ground. So Mahaprabhu would do anything. So yeah, that is the internal compassion. And that is what is the most important thing. Most important. If you touch that, then everything is done. If you can convince a devotee how much Krishna loves him, you know, how much Prabhupada loves him, then you don't have to give any other reason. If you're firmly convinced, and then gratitude will pour from their heart, naturally they will serve like anything, without expecting anything. That's why the greatest, Bhuvi Grinanti, the greatest devotees are those who can give the taste in Krishna consciousness. And His Grace Yugeshwar Prabhu is always exemplifying that, giving us that taste. That is the greatest gift in this world, to give the taste of bhakti. If you can give taste, you don't need to give anything else. I mean, you can give other, but that is the most valuable. That is the most valuable thing. The jewel of all jewels, secret of all secrets, the treasure of all treasures is that taste in bhakti. Online, anyone has anything to say? Any question or comment?
Direction Prabhuji, that was amazing class. When you say Prabhupada was wearing slippers in the winter, I cannot believe. We are wearing socks, especially I'm wearing socks, top of that woolen socks, top of that winter coat, shoes. Oh my God. What a sacrifice. Thank you, Prabhuji.
And also one more thing I also want to add, that it's very important for us to remember that how much we should be Prabhupada conscious. We should see everyone in ISKCON as part of Prabhupada's family, should not distinguish based on guru or something. And we should deeply value the sacrifice that those persons made to bring us to the path of bhakti. It's a very important thing we should keep reminding ourselves. Because generally we tend to appreciate only a spiritual master, but we don't appreciate the persons who have slogged for us, and we won't appreciate unless we ourselves do it. When we do it for others, we realize it's just like His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu says, just like taking care of a baby. If you're preaching to someone, taking a baby, and you can see like how devotees are doing, they're feeding prasad, they are answering questions. If your mind is disturbed, they're speaking that thing. So we can see like how practically devotees are taking care of us, how much pain they're going through. So yeah, it's very important for us to keep reminding ourselves that wow, they went through so much sacrifice to bring us to the path of bhakti, and how devotees, at least for myself, realize how much they're tolerating me on a regular basis in this temple. It's really amazing, quite amazing. So yeah, so okay, we'll end here. Please forgive me. It's only all of your mercy that I can speak something, even though not qualified. वांछकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो अनन्तकोटि वैष्णववृन्द की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.